Hey, Brook Scholars, welcome back to Remote Learning with me, Mr. Scott. Happy Monday and happy Rainbow Week. Yes, indeed. Are you wearing red? Have you got red on? No? You want to go and throw some colorful red shirt or hoodie on or something like that? Go ahead. Yeah, absolutely. So Monday is the first day of our week, and red is the first color of the rainbow. So that's why we're wearing red today. Very exciting. Also got a very interesting, very cool. Look at that red shiny pencil. It's a great pencil. The only problem is it's got a really bad eraser. I hate that. Got a really cool pencil and erase it on it to make this smudginess. Anywho, so let's get started. We have a non-fiction text today. It's a very, very interesting text. I hope you're going to enjoy it. It's a little bit strange, to be perfectly honest. But anyway, before we do that, before I show you the article, I first want to talk about annotations. Because I've had a lot of families reach out to me saying, Mr. Scott, how do we help our students actually write these annotations? What is an annotation? An annotation is a sentence. It is a sentence that you write to help you remember what you've learned in a particular paragraph or from a particular section of a nonfiction text. It doesn't need to include all of the information and all of the facts that you've learned. It should just be one simple reminder for you later on when you're answering questions. Oh, what did I learn in that section? Oh, wait, hang on. I think in this section, that's when that happened. So it can be really helpful when you're answering the questions. And it's really helpful while you are reading the article to stop and think about what you've read from the paragraph or the section and write down a little note. Okay. So this also might be helpful. Hang on, let me just get me out of the way here. Mini Mr. Scott. There we go. We'll put you over there. Thanks. Hopefully this will help out. This is the way that I think about annotations when I am writing them. You might already have a great system for how you go about writing annotations, and that's absolutely fine. You don't have to use this formula. But if you're struggling and you're not really sure what to write down on the page when I'm asking you to write and then record yourself reading annotations, this could be helpful. Check it out. When I think of an annotation, I think about a sentence in three different parts. The first part, as you can see here, is the topic. Now, that is whatever the article is all about. Now, sometimes you get an article, let's say it's on rainbows, and the entire article is just on rainbows. It gives you lots of information about how rainbows work and, all the rest of that. But the topic stays the same throughout the entire article. It's rainbows. Well, there's no problem. There's no problem in starting your sentence, your annotation, the same way with just the topic rainbows. If that's what it was on. However, sometimes, well, we'll get to that in a minute here. So the next part, okay, what the topic did. So this, of course, would be the second part of the sentence that you were writing. So if we think about all the wonderful work that we were doing with Miss Cashin for the word study lessons, this, of course, would be the predicate. We start with the subject of the sentence in the beginning, and then we have the predicate. The predicate includes the verb. The verb is the action word. So what is it about the topic? What's the verb that's going to go in there? Third and final part is why or how. More of an explanation about why the topic did what it did. Here's a couple of examples. My first one, Mr. Scott, hello, wore red on Monday. Why? To celebrate the start of Rainbow Week. The topic is Mr. Scott, what Mr. Scott was doing. He was wearing red on Monday. And then why or how he was doing that. Celebrate the start of Rainbow Week. Now, that's just a sentence that I've made up. Let's think about how we could use an annotation in one of the articles that we've read recently. Excuse me. So sometimes, yes, you have an article, it's just about rainbows, and that's it. But then other times you've got an article that has lots of different topics, like the one that we read, The Deep Freeze in the Arctic. Remember that one from last week? Yeah? You with me? Cool. So, grizzly bears, for example. The topic of one of the sections was about grizzly bears. What about grizzly bears? Well, grizzly bears hibernate. There's the start of the second part of our sentence, so it's going to have the predicate, and that verb is hibernate. That's what they are doing. Grizzly bears hibernate in the Arctic winters. Here comes the why or how. By living off the fat they have stored in their bodies. Topic, what the topic was doing, and then how or why was it doing it. Here's another example, and this time it's from the Driven to See Movies article. Now, this one's going to take you back a couple of weeks. Do you remember this one? Drive-in movie theaters, yeah, it was the cars and the movies and the sound. Anyway, the topic of that article was drive-in movie theaters. Every single section, every single paragraph of that article was about that one topic. So it's fine to write a whole bunch of annotations. I think there were 5 or 6 paragraphs to that article, and each one could start with drive-in movie theaters. That's not a problem. That's what the article is all about. So if you're writing an annotation starting with the topic, and the topic isn't really changing in the article, you might find that you're starting your sentences with the same words every time. What about drive-in movie theaters? Well, they are still popular today. Why or how? Because people enjoy watching movies in their cars. All right, topic, what the topic did, how or why it was doing it. I'm going to put this up onto the Seesaw page in this activity so you can look back at this today if you're having difficulty writing the annotations. But now, let's do this. Okay, here we go. This is the article that I found for today, my friends, and it's a kooky one. Let's check it out. I'll just move this over here. All right. Well, as you can see, today's nonfiction article is all about an animal. Of all the animals that I could have chosen for us to read about, like a cheetah or a hawk or a bear or something like that. When I tell you that this one is all about goats, you might be like, oh, okay, goats are cool. Goats, farm animals. Maybe you've seen goats. Maybe you've pet goats. Maybe you've fed them. The pellet, the grain thing. What are those? I don't know what that stuff is. Anyway, but this is a very special kind of goat. Did you know that there were different kinds of goats? I didn't until I read this article. So, scared stiff. Now, before we begin, you're going to need a pencil and paper for today's work. So here's the work that I have already done. I put the title and my name and today's date, which is the 11th. 5/11/20. And then I put paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then I wrote my annotations. So let's jump in. Okay, scared stiff. We got goats. Here's a goat, and then here's a goat lying down. All right. Imagine driving down a country road past a huge open field where goats are grazing. Some are lazily munching on weeds, while others are happily running and leaping about. Suddenly, a truck backfires. Boom! Just as suddenly, the goats fall to the ground. Interesting. Now, what do we know about this? Let's follow our formula and see if we can figure this out. We start with the topic. What was this first paragraph all about? Goats. What about the goats? What did they actually do? Yes, they were munching, and yes, they were running and leaping about, but what did they do? Okay, and then you need to have why did it do it? What caused the goat to do that? That's the 3 parts of the sentence. So, your job right now, grab your pencil, write down paragraph number 1 over on this side, and you're going to write down your annotation. So, pause the video right now, hit that pause button, write down your annotation. Go ahead. Paragraph 2. A few moments pass. The goats pop back up onto their feet. What just happened? Well, the goats were scared stiff and dropped to the ground. But not all goats act like this. There's only one kind of goat that behaves this way, and when it is surprised, it is called a Tennessee fainting goat. Oh my gosh, well, there's a lot going on there. Scared stiff. Let's go back to the title because they use the title in this paragraph. Scared stiff is a very interesting expression, right? Is a turn of phrase. Oh, I watched that movie. Oh, I was scared stiff. Oh, I had a nightmare last night. I was scared stiff. Because, of course, that's what happened. If you're surprised, you kind of tense up. You make everything really tight and tear. You're very stiff. So, what does that have to do with the goats? Well, apparently, these kinds of goats are called Tennessee fainting goat. And Tennessee fainting goats is the topic of this article. And so we could use that to begin each one of our sentences. So if you want to start your sentence with Tennessee fainting goats, I think that's a great idea. What about them? What do they do? Okay. And then the third and final part, why do they do this? All right. Hit the pause button, write down annotation number 2. Go ahead. Okay. Paragraph 3. Here we go. In the 1800s, a man arrived in Marshall County, Tennessee. People say he came from Nova Scotia, Canada. The man had a few goats and one cow. Since the man did not talk too much, no one knew where he got these goats. When he left, he took the cow, but he sold the goats. Interesting. Okay. So if we think about this annotation, we can still, I know it focused a lot on this guy, this dude, this man, came from Nova Scotia down to Tennessee for whatever reason, and he has something to do with these fainting goats. However, you can still start your sentence with Tennessee fainting goats, or just say fainting goats. That could be the first part of your annotation. That's fine. Now, what about them? Well, here they are being owned by a man, right? And where did he come from, or where did he wind up? So that's the 3 parts of your annotation. Smash the pause button, write down your annotation. Go ahead, friends. All right. Paragraph 4. The behavior, excuse me, the behavior of at least one of the goats was different from most others. Being frightened caused the goat's body to go stiff and sometimes fall over. No one had seen goats do this before. They began to call this new goat a Tennessee fainting goat. So that's the end of paragraph number 4. So what happens to these animals? Again, you can start with fainting goats as your annotation. That can be the topic or the subject of your sentence. That's absolutely fine. Then we need to go on to what they do and why they do it. Hit the pause button to write it down. All right, 2 to go. Paragraph 5. This special kind of goat does not actually faint, they just look like they do. The fainting goats stay awake, and not all of them really fall over. The baby goats, however, usually do fall over. But the good thing is that they do not have far to fall. Some older ones learn to stand near something like a fence or a tree just in case they are frightened. Oh my goodness. Now, listen, if you get a chance after you've done with this assignment and all the other assignments for today, have an adult in your family go on YouTube and just look for Tennessee fainting goats. It's the funniest thing in the world. Now, it's the funniest thing in the world because you see a goat get scared, go stiff, and fall over. But luckily, the goat is not harmed. In fact, we've just learned in here that they don't actually faint. They're called fainting goats because that's what it looks like. Of course, when a person faints, they lose consciousness. They go, "Oh, I'm fainting away. Oh." Um, lots of different things can cause you to go faint, but of course, you are kind of like, it looks like you're asleep. You're unconscious. You're not awake. Now, these goats are not actually fainting. They're still very much awake. They're just stiff like that for a little while. But it's funny to see them fall over because you know that they are not hurt in any way. They just got surprised. After a little while, they pop back up again. So go and check out some Tennessee fainting goat videos because they're pretty funny. They are. Anywho, what are we going to say for this one? So we're still sticking with the fainting goats topic or subject of our sentence. What about them? And then why are they doing that? All right, go ahead and jot that down. Pause it. And this is it. We've come to the end, my friends. Now, as this is the final paragraph, we can call this our concluding paragraph. So, in this last paragraph, of course, the author is going to remind us of what we were supposed to learn from this entire article. This last annotation is probably one of the most important ones. Here we go, paragraph 6. Now, there are about 3,000 fainting goats in the United States. People who have these animals love them. Goats of this kind are gentle, smart, and playful. They just get scared stiff now and then. The moment of stiffness only lasts about 10 or 15 seconds. Then the goats are back on their feet, good as new. All right, let's break it down. 3 parts. What? So the topic, right? The subject of this article. Then what are they doing and why are they doing it? All right. Write down that article, my friends. Then you've got some multiple choice questions to answer at the bottom of the page. There are 2 short answers, and I can't wait to see all of your wonderful work. Have a wonderful, bright, rainbow, sunshiny day, my friends. I can't wait to see you back here tomorrow with me, the ultimate champion, Mr. Scott, on the world's greatest YouTube channel with these incredible second grade teachers. We miss you. We love you. We're looking forward to seeing you soon. Bye. Oh no, I can't stop. There we go. Bye bye.